How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is Friday night on The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And we are going to talk tonight. Not going to be a long show. It's Friday. I want you all to get out there and relax on the weekend, especially if you're down in Florida. You should be getting the heck out of there, basically anywhere in Florida. I'm going to talk about that at the beginning of the show, and then we're going to get into this. Look, I think President Trump is doing a good job, but there's some stuff going on that's the same games, same lack of strategies, and it's easily fixed. I don't understand it, so I want to discuss it tonight, and I want everybody to think about it over the weekend and give me your thoughts. You can either write me on Twitter, @JGilliam_seal, or on Facebook at Jonathan T. Gilliam. And I'm also going to talk real quick a little bit about this book. I know I've been pressing this issue, but I think we're on to something here. Let's go ahead and get it started. All right, hold on. I was supposed to play my trailer right there. But you know what? My fingers didn't go fast enough. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to tell you real quick. Actually, let me play the trailer of this. I know you guys are getting tired of seeing it, and I apologize for that, but it's one of the best ways I have to get people who have not tuned into this show before to see what this book is about. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with combining the GoFundMe page with signed books. So stand by. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Get it. So, yesterday, Jim DeLong and I were talking about the issue that we have here is that the book is coming out, and all these people are buying the book or books, and the GoFundMe page has taken a huge hit over the past couple of weeks. So Jim offered to buy 100 books and donate those to the GoFundMe campaign, and I will sign those. And for starting on, I think we are starting around September 1st, we are going to we're going to give a book for anybody that donates $50 or more to the GoFundMe page. And if you've already done it, we'll go back to September 1st. Now, I've got a problem doing these things because I know that there's people. Remember, raising money for this show is all about the we. It's all about everybody getting together and allowing me to continue to do this show, not focus on having to go make a living some other way. This show, I'm going to tell you the way it is on this show. I don't have sponsors. I'm a fill-in host on SiriusXM. I've been doing a lot of hosting on Newsmax, which I did today, and that was a great time. Great people at Newsmax. But this show is self-supported. So it's funded by donations and the money that I do make from doing other things, whether it be security or some of these fill-in host jobs. Your job is to show up, as I said yesterday, show up every day and be a part of this show, continue the dialogue, spread the word of mouth. We don't have sponsors, so word of mouth is what's going to get people to come to this show. When you do come to this show, you're going to understand the reality of what it's all about. I'm giving you real expert advice. I'm getting people that know exactly what they're talking about in these fields, whatever it may be. And then, you're not going to have any Richard Fowlers or Catherine Temps on this show. There's no Tommy Laren's going to be on this show unless she wants to come on and explain to us how she's a conservative. So it's imperative that we all, my money goes into this, that you help fund this show. So I came up with an idea earlier this year, or earlier last month, excuse me, where if everybody that watches this show would donate $50, or everybody that partakes in the Friends of Jonathan T. Gillum page, or just overall follows me on social media, donates $50, we can fund this show all the way through next year. So one of the ways to get that started was to get people to donate $50 now that I've got this book coming out, and when it comes out in December, you'll get a signed book. We're still going to have to work on the logistics. You can't donate anonymously to GoFundMe. Your name's going to be on there. So there's going to be a point where I'm going to write everybody, and I'll just say, send your address or something. We'll set up we'll have a list of names, and we'll set up an email where you can write in and give us your address. Or if I'm going to be in a location, we'll just bring the book to you that way. But I didn't want the people who've already donated to be left out. So don't worry. If you donated over $50 before September 1st, I'm going to try to figure out a way. If you buy a book, and remember, I've got everybody's names on the list. I mean, when on GoFundMe, it gives me all the names. If you donated $50 before September 1st over the past year, and you buy a book, we're going to get it signed somehow, some way. So, we're gonna try to do that. Logistically, I tried this with coins before. I got lost, so I'm going to try to do this in a completely different manner. Which I got to sit down with some people who are much better at this logistical stuff than I am. I'm not good at it. So go to the GoFundMe page. Keep scrolling across the bottom of the page right here, gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. Donate $50. Your name will be on the list, and we're going to get you a signed book for that once they come out. I think it's a good deal. You get a book signed. We also fund the show at the same time. I think that's a good deal. All right, now, moving on from that, what I want to cover today, first off, make sure that you have a tasty beverage so we can have a Friday toast. And how many of you people have kids or dogs that get stressed every time you don't pay attention to them and talk on the phone or in this case, do a show? This dog of mine, Rico, 17-year-old Jack Russell, gets stressed out every night when I start this show. I don't know why. I don't know why he does it. By the way, this is my Chris Cuomo impersonation. I don't know if you guys watched CNN at all today. He's out there on the beach with his T-shirt on, showing everybody. And when he shakes people's hands, he's going like, it's like this. So tight. Ugh, nice to meet you. All right, at ease, Chris Cuomo. He's actually a nice guy. I just think what he said about 12-year-olds should be comfortable with opposite sex in their dressing rooms was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard anybody say. But listen, it is what it is, liberals. So there's some stuff going on in the news today that I think is very important besides this hurricane. The hurricane is a big deal. In the A block, we're going to get to this. I'm talking about the Lois Lerner case basically just being dropped. She is not going to be prosecuted. Next to Hillary Clinton, I think Lois Lerner is probably the biggest abuser of emails and of our system when it comes to, well, you know what they did in the IRS? They were scrutinizing nonprofits that had a conservative side to them and they just were putting their files away somewhere else and not giving them their tax exempt status. And nefarious, very nefarious. Then on top of that, it's fraud when they try to hide this stuff from investigators, yet nothing happens. Nothing happens. Anyway, let me talk about that in just a minute. Also, right along with that is the DOD, and I was reading this report just a second ago. I don't even know what to think about this. U.S. pulls back from launching ISIS convoy at request of Russia, Pentagon says. I can't blame that one on Trump. That's the Pentagon. Wait, who's in charge of the Pentagon? Oh, yeah. Mad Dog Mattis, who doesn't seem to have changed a thing since he's gotten into office, except walking around making people, I don't know, happy to be in the military again. I don't know. He hasn't really changed a whole lot. There's no more strategies going on there. It's not like we've started calling out immediately who the enemy is. Can't even start with that. So real quick before we go into that, I would just want to talk a little bit about this hurricane, okay? It's big. And I think some things are getting lost with people that live in Florida. I have some friends that live down there. I've talked to them. They were in Tampa. They're not going to leave. At first, they were thinking about it, and then they said, no, the hurricane is going to skirt the east coast of Florida. The fact is the hurricane is as big as Florida, but Tampa, it looks like that thing may skirt out a little bit and then come back and kind of hit the west coast of Florida. And here's the problem. Florida is basically a state that's always been on the edge of going underwater. I mean, it's basically a big island. That's what Florida is. It just sticks out there. It's not like there's any huge mountains in Florida. It's very low. It's very sandy. You get a lot of sinkholes in there. The water table is tremendous there. And there's a lot of intercoastal waterways. I don't know if people are realizing what's actually happening with this hurricane. And the fact that another one, I forgot what it is, Jose, is right behind it. I mean, we pray that it takes a turn and goes away. But if it doesn't, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really bad. And I'm not just saying this to fearmonger. I mean, see, this is what drives me crazy about people in this country. They don't look past the last news soundbite. So if the people come on TV and say, looks like it's going to skirt the edge of the eastern coast of Florida up to North Carolina, and that's the last soundbite they had heard, that's just what they're going to go with. They're not going to. They don't realize that things can actually happen to you. Bad things can actually happen to you. It doesn't just happen to the other guy. It happens to you as well. So, a buddy of mine just said his family is staying in Florida as well. I wish people would heed this warning and just start driving north. You got 3 days to get north. No, I'm sorry. You don't have 2-3 days. You have a day and a half. Get on the road, man. I wish they would. The other thing I wish is that they would just start pushing the traffic north on both sides. If somebody has to go south on the freeway in Florida, they should just open up the edge of the road for people to go south. It's not like they're going to be going real far. They should open up all the lanes of traffic on the freeways to go north, or open up some other freeway for people to go south or something like that. But they've got to start moving people faster to get them out of there. That's one of the main reasons why people haven't left. And I don't get why people say, no, I'm going to stay here. Like this wacko down at the Hemingway Museum in Florida Keys, which is going to take a direct hit by a Category 5 hurricane, the largest in recorded history. And he says, nope, I'm going to ride it out. Evidently, he's taking his job way too seriously, because the Hemingways have a history of suicide. I guess this guy wants to commit suicide by hurricane. I don't know. That's an interesting way to go. But if you prepare yourself for this and you still have a little bit of time, get what you need. Get some clothes. I've told people again and again how I think that they can waterproof some of their stuff by getting 2 large trash bags. I can go get one if people need to see this. And putting a blanket in the first one, then putting the other bag inside of that, put your stuff in there, roll it down, fold it. You do that, both of them. Roll them down, fold it, twist it, and then zip tie it. You do the same thing with the other one, and then you tie it off. And you can even get a third one if you want. And that will keep some of the stuff pretty dry. Now, if your house blows away and that stuff takes off somewhere, I mean, you could put a label on it with your name on it, and maybe somebody will find it. But I think if it's just flooding that's going to happen in some of these places, and your house gets flooded, if you take those bags and you put them in the highest point in your house, there's a chance you'll come home, your papers will be there, your clothes could be there, whatever. But here's what people aren't realizing about this whole thing, is that you may be able to go 30 days without food, and you may be able to survive without electricity for a period of time, but you're not going to be able to survive more than 3 days without water. And if this hurricane comes through and destroys everything, and you don't have a stockpile of water, it may be weeks before electricity comes back. If your house is gone and you stayed there and somehow survived, you're not going to have water. The first responders are going to be busy enough trying to do stuff for people who are in a life and death crisis, or to keep looters away, or prepare for the next hurricane that's coming through. Look, heed this warning. If you are in Florida, start driving north for a couple of days. If you have to sleep in your car for 48 hours, but you live, hey, that's a price that you got to pay. And at least you get to live, versus trying to sleep in your house and it may get blown away. Look, my buddy Dave Robinson was on here yesterday. He was on Newsmax with me today and was talking about how people should get themselves life preservers. Listen, this is coming from a guy who understands the reality of these natural disasters. I don't think most people in Florida that are going to sit it out have even thought about life preservers or a helmet, even a bike helmet. I know that sounds stupid, but if you have a life preserver and a bike helmet and all of a sudden your house gets swiped away and you get blown down in a ravine, now you're floating. Or like in the case of Florida, you just get flooded all of a sudden because of a tidal surge. You have a life jacket on and a helmet, there's a good chance you may actually survive. Maybe. Nobody, I don't care how good a swimmer you are, take it from a SEAL. You get yourself in these waters. It's not like you're going to swim to shore. These waters could carry you out to sea. They could carry you down an intercoastal waterway. There's currents underneath. What is your neighborhood tomorrow or Sunday could be a river, and it could be 30 feet deep. You're not going to survive that, and it's flowing. This is not going to be stagnant water at first. It will be later. So anyway, regardless of this, here's what I'm trying to tell everybody. I use this analogy all the time. If some guy came up to you and said, I'm going to punch you in the face on Sunday, there's going to be a fight. We are going to get in a fight. If that happened, you don't have time to train to learn how to be an expert fighter from Friday night until Sunday morning. You know what your best bet is? Get the heck out of there. Don't return to that spot. Well, it's the same thing here. This isn't a thunderstorm. This is the strongest weather system on the face of the planet. And this is the largest one in recorded history. If you saw the news bites, I don't have it myself, but the size of this thing as compared to, I forgot which one it was that hit Florida several years ago, that did a lot of destruction in Florida. This thing dwarfs that one. And there's another one right behind it. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say except my prayers are with you. I hope you get out of there. I hope you take this warning seriously. And if you have to sleep in your car for a couple days, so be it. There's a lot. It could be worse, but you'll be alive. And if you have somebody who's disabled or who's elderly, and they're your neighbor, hey, it's time to meet your neighbor and take care of them for a couple days. Things could be worse. I don't care if they're the most annoying person in the world. Do it. This is what this country should be about. We just have too many people in this country. People forgot that you do sometimes have to rely on each other. All right, let's go to the A block, and I'm going to talk a little bit about whatever's going on in Washington, D.C. with the Trump administration and this lack of change. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. And by the way, folks, I'm first responder qualified. You know, I don't talk about it a lot, but I was a cop at Camp Robinson, which is a small police department outside of North Little Rock, Arkansas. I did that for a little while before I went into the Navy. Plus, being a Navy SEAL, I know the reality of saving lives. I've been through life saving, it seems like, in every single job I've been in. I've been CPR certified so many times, it's crazy. But I don't get it. I don't know why people don't take this stuff seriously. I don't know. I also can't figure out why. Let's look at two things here, okay? We've had a problem for a long time since World War II when it comes to fighting wars and confronting an enemy. We, as soon as the Secretary of Defense was created, our DOD became extremely politicized, and we never fought another significant war after that. Mad Dog Mattis gave all these people, you know, hope, and everybody was excited because his name's Mad Dog Mattis. And I remember when President Trump announced Mad Dog Mattis, I even did a little tweet saying, "Thank goodness we got a general in there." But my suspicions were up. I just didn't want to jump on the good feelings and vibes that everybody had. But I've never fully trusted any of these generals, and I think one of President Trump's Achilles heels, I've never met the guy. I can only say this based on his own statements and the things that he likes and the things that he typically brags on in his life. He is a guy who likes big flashy things, the expensive things. And so instead of, like, for instance, if he's building a building, he says, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this color. I want this type of gold in the lobby, you know. And then those people go out and find the subject matter experts to do that. My hope was that President Trump understood subject matter experts. I don't know if he does understand the importance of subject matter experts. And now many of you are going to say, generals are subject matter experts. Well, that's not necessarily true, because they may know one thing in particular, but they may not know the overall reality of the fight, because they're not in the fight. They're way up here. They're up in a tactical operations command. They may be privy to a lot of information, but they may not fully understand how you carry out a strategic plan, because they're so inundated by politics. That's how these people got to this point. Look, okay, they call Mad Dog Mattis a warrior monk. He reads a ton of stuff. But guess what? He wouldn't have gotten to the point where he's at if it wasn't for politics. Because, folks, we haven't had any major wars. Yes, I know the war on terror seems like a major war. It's not. It's not a major war because we haven't really fought it. We've done battles here and battles there, and then we cut out a dictator, and for some reason we think that Islam is going to go away when we remove a dictator. That's not going to work. Or when we remove this particular group, like the Taliban, we push the Taliban back. That doesn't do anything for the rest of the Middle East. So these individuals, even Mad Dog Mattis, are politicians. That's how they got to the point that they're at. They know who to kiss. They know who wants the I dotted this way and who wants the T crossed this way. They know those things. That's how they got to that position. That's how they don't get fired from their positions, from Clinton to Bush to Obama to Trump. They know how to survive in a political world. That's how they become who they are. And so, with that being said, I'm looking at this story. U.S. military, this comes from FoxNews.com, U.S. military on Friday pulled back surveillance aircraft that had been watching an 11-bus ISIS convoy filled with hundreds of militants and their family members at the request of the Russian government. First of all, if you know that bus convoy is there, why aren't we taking that bus convoy out? I don't know. I don't get it. If we're going to do an assault on something, throw overwhelming firepower around it, go down there with special forces and take everybody off those buses. I don't know where they won't. I don't know. Instead, because the Russian military requested U.S. drones depart the area through the deconfliction line, so a Russian-Syrian forces battle to recapture ISIS-held city, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. A U.S. general said he would hold the Assad regime in Syria responsible for dealing with the convoy. That's how we fight wars now? Not only will we not name the enemy, but generals are going to hold the Assad regime accountable? What kind of strategy is that? I'm absolutely dumbfounded by this story. I cannot figure it out. They made sure to point out, though. They made sure to point out towards the end of this, General Stephen Townsend, he says, we have struck every ISIS fighter and vehicle that has tried to approach that convoy. Okay, so the convoy is going with these fighters and their families. They've hit every vehicle that's approached the convoy for whatever to get with it. But then he said, Townsend said, this is a general, said the U.S. coalition did not target any civilians in the convoy. They want to make that perfectly clear because those people are civilians. But now that there is no surveillance on the convoy, there is no stopping the convoy from moving again. Yeah. Okay. Listen, I was only in the SEAL team for 5 years, okay? What I learned in that 5 years as a junior officer was tremendous. What I learned when I went to the Air Marshals, I used what I had. I didn't really learn a whole lot. But when I went to AMTI and worked with all these other legendary SEALs from SEAL Team 6 and Red Cell, they lived and ate and breathed like a terrorist cell, Red Cell did, targeting military bases around the world for the United States. Working with them taught me a tremendous amount about strategic thinking and how in order to have good tactical missions, you got to have a good strategic picture of what's going on. And in order to do that, in order to have the good target tactical attacks and tactical missions, you have to have an understanding of who you're fighting. These generals obviously have not learned through 16 years of war that ISIS fighters and their families are combatants. Listen, I'm not a child killer. I'm not a warmonger, but an ISIS fighter, his wife is subservient to him, and she will kill if that's what they have them do. Their kids, they've been raised in a war zone by warriors. Their kids are warriors as well. The fact that they're letting this convoy move means that not only are they not taking out active members of ISIS, but they're also ensuring the next generation of fighters and the women that are going to pump these fighters out like rabbits are not going to be stopped either. I'm not talking about genocide here. I'm talking about warriors. I'm talking about fighters in a convoy together. We've seen this in every single conflict we've been in. They put up, they give kids and women, and they use them as quote-unquote human shields. But the reality is when you go in there, they often fight too. That's why when we go through training, when we go through CQB training, there's targets where they put a gun in a kid's hand, and if we fail to shoot that target because we're not looking at it as a threat, we get brought back and we get reamed for that. The generals are making the same mistake that I made once when I went through the house the first time. They took the posters, and it had a guy had his arm around a kid. And in most of the pictures, the kid is standing there like this. The guy's got his arm around the kid, and he's got a gun like this. Well, they took the arm off of the guy, and they put it on the kid. So as I went through, I wasn't looking at the hands. I was looking at the person, and I looked at that big guy. He didn't have a weapon, so I moved. I didn't even see the weapon on the kid because I wasn't looking at hands. And that's what you learn later on through CQB training. You look at the hands. The hands are where the threat lies. Unless they merge a person with some kind of spitting cobra, the hands are where the threat lies. And they brought us back through. They made me the example, which is great, as a junior officer. And then we go back through, and they made everybody shoot that kid. Not because they're sadistic, but because they're driving home the lesson. Now, I learned that lesson. The generals obviously have not learned that lesson. And they're generals. That the people on this bus convoy, ISIS fighters and their families, are all combatants. You either stop it or you eliminate it. I don't get it. I don't understand this. There's no strategic war plan. Mad Dog Mattis has not developed a strategic war plan. He hasn't. He hasn't even named the enemy. And you have this weirdo McMaster that's in the National Security Council. He won't name him either because I don't know, all kinds of things going on around about that guy being a subservient to the Muslim Brotherhood. President Trump is doing a great job in several areas. I think what he did, putting Paul Ryan on his backside by making the deal with the Democrats, I think it was huge. That was the ultimate whip crack. Okay, so he does that well with them, but he's not doing anything about the overall strategic plans of how we effectively go after an enemy. When we look at Lois Lerner and how they are not going after Lois Lerner now for what I talked about earlier, where they were specifically targeting conservative nonprofits and not giving them their nonprofit tax-exempt status. And Lois Lerner, when they were confronted about this, all their emails and hard drives disappeared. And the DOD says that that's not chargeable crimes, that lying to an FBI agent is not. That's why Martha Stewart went to jail. And Martha Stewart did a white-collar crime that doesn't affect any of us at all. Martha Stewart, if she had never been found out or she had not done what she did, it would not have made a bit of difference in humanity whatsoever. She lied to an FBI agent. She got charged. 18 months is what you get for that. Most of hers was house arrest. Why isn't Lois Lerner getting that at a minimum? Why isn't Hillary Clinton getting that? What about when they destroy government property? How is it these political appointees are held to a different set of standards and the American people are okay with that? You all should be freaking out about this. There should be two things you're concerned about today. Hurricanes and this nonsense that continues to happen where government officials that are executives, because if I was in the FBI, I would be hammered for this. I'd go to jail. They are treated with a different set of laws and standards. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to go to the truth zone and I'm going to get out of here. I didn't close my door, so my sound booth's not closed, so I got to be a little quiet here. Judges, congressmen, senators, SESers, what we call senior executives at these agencies, the political appointees that run these agencies. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives them the ability to skirt the law. Nothing. And out of all the things that continue to happen in this country, with Antifa and by all means necessary and Black Lives Matter, and listen, I'll even throw in, even though white supremacist Nazis have not grown, they are not growing, it is not out of control, there are not more people like the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is as corrupt as can be. They skew these numbers. Communism is the biggest threat here. It is, the biggest threat in these groups. It's not white supremacy. It's a problem. I say we put all of them, Nazis, communists, put them all on a terrorist watch list. They're all performing terrorism. Push that to the side. This nonsense about politicians and these senior executives and these political appointees totally ruining this country, completely destroying our national security, giving secrets away, formulating policies for the sheer purpose, like this weirdo Menendez over here in New Jersey that is being brought up on charges where he took $700,000 from his buddy to pad his pockets, and in return was helping him get visas or green cards for girls and taking elaborate trips. These people that do things like that, that destroy government property, that purposely skirt the policies of fairness and equality when it comes to equal tax-exempt status for all these people that are applying. Hillary Clinton using her position, her official position, for her and her husband to go out and make billions of dollars when it comes to the presidents flying on planes, so our government planes, so that they can run for office again. When it comes to all these elaborate trips that they all take long after they're out of office, or even when they're in office, going and doing all of these things and spending millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars. I'm done with it. I'm fed up with it. The people should be outraged because of this. Here's the facts, folks. The Constitution does not differentiate between rich and poor, black or white, man or woman, senior executive and special agent on the ground, an E1 in the military, or an 07 general or admiral. It doesn't differentiate between any of them. If they break the law, if they destroy government property, if they do nefarious things and commit fraud, whatever the crime may be, espionage, treason, they are not protected by the law any more than you and I. But they are protected by the criminal elements in this government. Judges, senators, congressmen, presidents, special senior executive service members, political appointees, they don't live by a different set of laws. They live above those laws. So what does that mean? It means that we don't have a legal problem. It means that we have a organized crime problem. In other words, it's not the laws that are a failure here. It's the fact that we have allowed organized crime to get into the government to such an extent that these people just think they can do whatever they want. And I remember when I was in the FBI, people were walking around taking pictures of our cars that maybe they were parked in a no parking zone, our official cars, and we'd have our parking plaques up there because we get these placards so that we can park our cars there. Maybe we're interviewing somebody, or maybe we're home. They give us those placards so we can park in no parking areas or no standing areas. So as long as we're not blocking a hydrant or parked in a bus stop or in a crosswalk, so that we can have access to our vehicle, our official vehicle, at a rapid pace. People were going and taking pictures. They were outraged by that. Outraged by the fact that we were able to get a parking space where they weren't. But yet the people will not get outraged about this. You will grumble and you will say some things. You should be to the point where you're about to march on Washington, D.C., 300 million strong. I am shocked when I hear the things that I've talked about today, where we have people up there that are not doing their job. They are not conquering enemies. They are not effectively fixing the infrastructure of this country. They are not effectively managing the taxes that we pay. They are not effectively, when they come up with some lame brain idea about health care, they don't even do that effectively. When it was their idea, people weren't screaming out for that. It was their idea. And they come out and they screw that up. They're not even doing their jobs right. And at the same time, they are skirting the law because they sit in positions of power. That has to stop. While everybody is so focused on Antifa and on all these criminal elements, Washington, D.C. and the power brokers there are just getting stronger and stronger. And this two-party political system is getting more and more disgustingly nefarious. I want people to keep asking how. How do we do it? How do we do it? Keep asking that question. Because we have to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question for you. You all have to be so angry. You must be so pissed off that you say, I don't care if we go to work on Monday. I'm not going to live in a country any longer that functions like this. There is no equality. There is no equality for normal men and women if the people above them, and everybody gets so focused on whether it's Democrat or Republican, if the people above them are not held accountable for their actions, there will be no equality. They will just use you to push the tide left or right, whatever it takes to get them elected. That's what they're going to do. But you got to get outraged. Outraged. Whew, I'm sweating. Happy birthday, Felix. Somebody on Twitter there says, I email and tweet my congressman, my congressional delegate weekly. I'm probably on a watch list. It may well be. Look, I'm going to say this going out. Just as I'm talking about with the $50 donations and you get the signed book, as I say over and over again, minimal effort, and this is a Timothy Ferriss out of the 4-Hour Body, minimal effort, maximum results. If a lot of people, see, this is the way Timothy Ferriss explained this. If you, and I suggest this book, it's a great book. I'm not talking about, my book's going to be a great book, but I'm talking about Timothy Ferriss's book. If you want to get tan, right, you got something important coming up and you want to get a nice tan. If you wait and you go out on Sunday and you lay out for 2 hours, what's going to happen? You're going to get sunburnt, and when you go to the or when you come back inside the next day, you're going to be as red as fire, and then by the end of the week, it's going to fade, you're going to peel, you're going to be just as white as you were before. But if you do a little bit of studying and you find out how long it takes the melanin in your skin to react, it's about 15 minutes, and you go out for 4 days over from Sunday to to Tuesday or to Wednesday, and you lay for 15 minutes on your front and 15 minutes on your back, and that's it. No more. You go back inside. After 4 to 5 days, you'll be three shades darker with no sunburn. But you have to understand what is the minimal to where you get things to effectively change, and what happens if you go further than that? Do you get anything out of it? Sometimes you don't. In the case of the sun, in the case of lifting weights, if you find out what the minimal effort you have to give to get the maximum results, you should stop right there, because if you go further, you're going to start to lose your gains. It's the same thing when it comes to fixing this government. And also with funding this show. If everybody gets together and acts, each person will have to do much, much less. But interestingly enough, you're going to be able to do more as a whole. Whereas like what happened in Oregon, a few people got together and did too much, and it backfired. It really did backfire. I don't think it really did it didn't do any good with the Obama administration. Somebody lost their life and many people went to jail. But just think that, let's just take that for instance. Let's say that people that don't even have farms but live in those states all got together and said, we are going to march on the governor's mansion, and we are not going to let anybody come or go from the governor's mansion or city hall or whatever it is, or the Capitol building or whatever state that was. And let's say you got everybody in that state, and there was 8 million people in the state, and everybody went there. The state would be forced to act, and they then would in turn react to the past Obama administration. Same thing with the Trump administration. So more people doing less, not taking guns, not going and taking over a place, getting together and marching together and surrounding an area in force with millions of people could have changed the tide of the way things were done when it came to this land grab that was going on. It's the same thing here, folks. If we work together, if enough people get together and donate to this show, you're going to fund this show, and you're going to have a full show where we get more and more equipment, bigger studio, and start to have real people on here, and you have a place to turn in case you're looking for real information. Or you just want your nightly news from somewhere. Well, it's the same thing with this stuff. If the majority of people got together and actually, hold on one second. if the majority of people got together in this country that had a half a brain and they said, you know what, we are not going to put up with this anymore. This is out of control. Then I can guarantee you, folks, if you work together, you could make a tremendous difference with less effort. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. All right. I hope you guys have something to drink. Let's go to the Truth Zone and do the Friday night toast. What's that, Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
I wanna do the toast with you, but I still need somebody to get my computer.
Well, it's not happening, Debbie. We don't want you here. I'm sorry, I didn't do the Debbie face.
I want to be a part of it.
We don't want you to be a part of it. Go away, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Let's go to the Truth Zone. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Whoops, I just jacked that all up, didn't I? That's all right. It's Friday. Stuff like that happens. We'll fix it here in a minute. As of now, we need to get our toast up. That was Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was supposed to be operating the board here. Idiot. She screwed it all up. All right. So, thanks to Dave Robinson for coming on Newsmax today. Sean Robinson missed out. He wimped out. Could have been on national television. He blew it. Now all the people in Florida are going to die because of Sean Robinson. Way to go, Sean. But Dave came through for us, so thank you. And thanks to everybody for coming over to the 8 o'clock hour. I hope it's not messing anybody up. I've gotten... Command Center Debbie. Now, I haven't gotten any complaints about the 8 o'clock hour. In fact, a lot of people have said they're thankful that we're doing it that way. So we're going to keep it at 8 o'clock for now. I still got to talk to Ron Bellum because I don't want to take away from his show either. I don't know. We've got to figure this out. Okay, so I'm probably going to get on the road here in next week, maybe. I'm thinking about it. Maybe. I got a lot of stuff to do before then. We'll see. I got to think this through. But nonetheless, thank you all for reacting to the donations and the call for that. People have been, they've been doing really well in responding to that. We've made some good money over the past day that's going to go to this and to the trip that's upcoming. What I want you to start doing is start thinking about wherever you're at, getting some groups together and getting people together, and let's see if we can put some groups together that are a little bit bigger this time, and groups that I know, that I'm not just going to show up and we're going to just kind of wing it. I want to have it much more planned out, and I don't want to be in such a rush to get from place to place like I was the last time. So we'll talk more about that next week, but as for now, let's raise our toast. As the angels sing and our dogs sleep, our loved ones are in heaven. Let's pray for Florida. Let's not forget about Houston and Texas. Let's pray for all of them. Let's stand together. And folks, have a good weekend. If you're staying in Florida, remember, if you're not prepared, get out. If you think you're prepared, don't lose your sense of humor. You lose that, you're going to die. So raise them high. God bless everybody. Let's have a toast just to Friday. Thank goodness for Fridays. I got to do this one in 2 today. Shouldn't have eaten that protein shake before. Let's do it. You're not going to see that on national television. I'm Jonathan Gillum. I'm not Chris Cuomo. Go out and enjoy your Friday. And I'll see you all on Monday on Newsmax and then back on here. Old Rico's asleep right down there. I'm right here. Remember, wherever you see this face, the truth has arrived. I'm Jonathan Gillum. This is The Experts. I'll see you on Monday. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Nighty night. Good night. Good night.
I'm not a weirdo, Annie. Millie Ann, I called you Annie.
I'm just testing out the, this is supposed to simulate that I'm in a chopper. We're flying over Washington, D.C., and I'm looking down and all I see is a bunch of, it's a cesspool, folks. A cesspool has overtaken Washington, D.C.
This is Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I resemble that comment you just made about a cesspool. I'm out of here.
How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.